Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we have got a Game Week 6 buy, sell, keep, avoid video for you guys to try and help you make the best transfer moves you can possibly make. Hopefully we're going to nail it this week. Let's see what we can do. So guys, if you do enjoy the buy, sell, keep, avoid videos, please do leave a like, please do subscribe. Of course, we've got to get to 90,000 subscribers this week. We've got to do it and I can only do it with your help. So make sure if you're not done it already, subscribe. Got to be done. But before we have a look at the buys, the sells, the keeps and avoids, just a quick word from our sponsor today, which is once again OneFootball, the regular sponsors of the buy, sell, keep, avoid series. Now, for those of you who don't know what OneFootball is, they're a great website / application for your mobile phone that you can use to check out football scores, lineups, statistics, all stuff like that. And it's also a great source of football news as well. So if you're on the go or you can't watch particular football games and you want to check out what's going on in all of the football all around the world, this is the perfect app for you. So go check it out, completely free. There is a link in the top of my description for you to go check it out yourselves and download it. So go for it, guys, go for it. So what are the rules? Buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing into your teams. These players probably have really good form, really good fixtures coming up. Sells are players you probably have but you should consider removing them from your team. So maybe I don't think they're going to get many points over the coming game weeks. Keeps are players that you probably have. You might be thinking about removing them, but I think you should actually keep them in your team instead. And finally, avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. A lot of people are talking about them. A lot of people are transferring them in, but I think maybe these players should actually be avoided after all. So there we go, guys. Those are the categories. Let's start you off with a buy. Now, our first buy is Mikhail Antonio. You've probably heard me hype up Antonio enough this season, but you're going to have to listen to it just a little bit more. So, when fit, he is an FPL cheat code, and he is fit. His ban is over, and all of you impatient Peters who sold him last week, and all of you slow Susans who never had him in the first place, first of all, you guys disappoint me. Thankfully, it's not too late for you guys. However, you can still get him into your team if you want to. So, let's have a quick look at his stats. So, Antonio still sits second in the game for total points despite missing one game and scoring a minus points in another game, still the second top scorer. So he's essentially done in just 3 games what no other player aside from Salah could do in 5 games, and that's pretty crazy to me. But what I like most is the amount of points that Antonio has picked up is backed up by his underlying numbers as well. So he's taken 18 shots, that's first among forwards and third among all players. 15 shots in the box, that again, that's first for forwards, third overall. 3.6 expected goals, that's first among forwards, third overall. You know, you get the idea here. 6 big chances, that's top. But what also really impresses me is his 4 assists. That's come from 7 key passes, 3 big chances created, and 1.99 expected assists. Now, these numbers are crazy. And remember, he's done this in 4 games. Not 5, but 4 games. And he's kind of beating 99% of all other players in stats across the board, despite having played less. He's performed, he's scored in the Europa League as well. He's back this week. He's playing a Leeds side that are in absolute tatters. A Leeds side with some of the worst defensive in numbers we've seen in the Premier League so far. They've got a growing injury and suspension list at the back as well. Antonio is going to have a field day here, completely destroy them, and he's a genuine, really, really nice captain shout as well. So don't forget about him. Just because he's been gone for a little while, he's going to be back with a bang. Next up is Ismaila Sarr, potentially one of the most overlooked players from last game week, I guess. I think Watford's attacking numbers in general kind of really put us off their attack, like going for some of their attacking players. But some people did take the plunge in a very favourable fixture run, and it paid off against Norwich. And you can't really deny Sarr's quality. We've kind of seen this in the Premier League before, how good he is, how exciting he is. I was actually kind of surprised to see him stay at Watford during the Championship season they had last year. But with the lack of goal scoring options in the Watford attack, Sarr is the standout attacker by default. And you perhaps think that if Watford are going to get a goal or, a couple of goals, Sarr's going to be amongst them. That's going to be Sarr involved in those goals. And that's the kind of player I like in FPL. His attacking numbers look good as well. 13 shots so far, 11 of those in the box, 4 big chances, 2.75 expected goals so far this season. That's actually 6th of all players in the game. Now, it should be noted that 1.98 of that XG and all 4 of those big chances did come against Norwich last game alone. So we're yet to see some consistency here. But form, you'd think maybe breeds more form, right? And the good news is that the next 2 fixtures for Sarr are Newcastle and then Leeds. So, you know, these are 2 defensive that are arguably just as bad as Norwich. The points might be up for grabs for a little bit longer, so it's not too late to buy Sarr. But I should warn you on Sarr that if you're going to do it now and not later. Because from kind of game week 8 onwards, the fixtures just look really poor for Watford. So Sarr really represents an excellent short-term punt. If you're like me, you're planning on a wild card in game week 8, then this is an absolutely amazing move. If you're planning for something a little bit more longer term, maybe be a little bit more cautious before jumping on this particular bandwagon. Onto some sells. Let's start you off with Ferran Torres. So Ferran Torres owner, the good news is that he's likely to play in game week 6. The good thing about players playing for those rotation style teams is that if they miss one game week, that actually improves their odds of playing in the following weeks. So that's a good thing. He's probably going to play next game week. Now the bad news is the next fixture is against Chelsea. The fixture after that is Liverpool. So sorry to talk about wild cards all over again. But it's got to be an important, factor in our short-term decision makings. But if you're eyeing up a game week 7 or 8 for a wild card, maybe that means that you're going to have Torres right now for the games against Chelsea and then Liverpool before hitting the reset button anyway. Is there potentially other midfielders that you think would perhaps serve you better in the short term? The answer is almost certainly yes. If you're thinking a little bit more longer term, perhaps you want to hold Torres through these next 2 tough games, but is there any guarantee that you won't blank in the next 2 and then get rotated all over again when fixtures get slightly better? And for the record, they only get slightly better. There's no major fixture swing here. I'm not sure. Honestly, I've been far more impressed by City's defence than their attack. They've got more players coming back as well. They've got Foden, back in the team now, De Bruyne back in the team. So it seems like a bit of a minefield at the moment in attack until we actually see how they set up slightly longer term. Maybe you think that players like Foden and De Bruyne coming back actually improves Torres. I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery at the moment, if we're completely honest. Like I said, a little bit of a minefield there. The minefield, by the way, is fine when the Man City attackers are picking up regular high-scoring game weeks, regular high scores. But that's kind of not happening right now. So it kind of makes me think, is it worth taking the risk on the rotation and all of that stuff with Man City? Probably not right now. Next sell is Diogo Jota. So it looks like the Jota roller coaster is about to come to an end. Some huge goal scoring opportunities missed. Some great chances created from his teammates missed. An open goal, probably the best goal scoring opportunity I have seen this season, missed. 2 blanks in 2 games somehow. I maintained that he was a really good short-term FPL pick at the time, a couple of game weeks, but it hasn't paid off. They don't always pay off. But what's more important is that we try to gracefully take the L, I guess, swallow our pride a little bit, and maybe consider that maybe it's just time to sell. Not because Jota is a bad pick necessarily, but more because of the Firmino situation. So Firmino is back in training. It looks like Firmino is going to start against Brentford. There's a very, very good chance of that happening. And I think because even though Jota, he hasn't performed yet, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are tempted to just say, oh, well, it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. The underlying numbers look good. Let's just wait and see. Jota is not necessarily going to give you that chance to wait and see, because if Firmino is going to come back and displace him, and Firmino has looked good when he's been playing as well, I don't know. I guess there's a chance that Jota starts, but if you have no other injury concerns, you're probably better off going for one of the other great midfield options. Rafinha, Sarr, Gray, Decore, Benrahma back in, players like that. They're probably going to do a lot better than Jota. And after Brentford, Liverpool play Man City, then Man United in a couple of weeks, then it's Brighton, West Ham, Arsenal. Basically, the fixtures aren't amazing. Now, Jota is going to be in and out of the team, especially since he's not in goal-scoring form. And for a run like this, a run of fixtures like this, considering you guys probably already have Salah and Trent, do you really want to triple up on Liverpool right now? Probably not, right? After this Brentford game anyway, you're probably not going to want to triple up on Liverpool. Now, if you're going to sell one of your Liverpool players, Jota is kind of the obvious one, right? To replace him with a player who's got better fixtures and is going to be playing every single game week. That's kind of what we like, right? That's kind of what we want. So let's use our midfield slots quite wisely, and in that case, we might have to sell Jota, unfortunately. On to some keeps. We'll start you off with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, Trent is currently the 4th most transferred out player of the game week, and this really frustrates me. I imagine the reasoning is partially down to that little yellow triangle that I like to call the Dorito of death, but I don't understand why people mass sell anyone with a Dorito of death without doing a little bit of research, you know. Trent was kind of feeling unwell on the day of the game. It's not COVID related. Even Trent himself, he wanted to play. We're expecting him to be back fit and healthy by next weekend, and when he is fit, he rarely misses a game. And honestly, alongside Mo Salah, I think he is the best FPL asset in the game. I'm serious about that, which is why it frustrates me so much when I see people are selling him en masse, because bad fixtures or no, he's a season keeper. Let's just look at some of his stats. So despite playing one less game than everyone else in the league, so another player that has played one less game, look at these numbers, man. It is insane. So he's #1 for key passes. He's done 20 key passes in 4 games. Big chances created with 4, so he's done 4 and 4. Expected assists, he's #1 again, 2.37. And by the way, that's among all players, not just defenders, so absolutely mad. He's also taking 2 shots per game, which is really, really good for a defender. So in FPL terms, in terms of an FPL asset, he gives you more creative potential than literally any other player. You know, KDB, Bruno, these super premium 12 million plus players. Trent is doing it for 7.5 million or ish, you know, whilst being a defender and also picking up clean sheet points as well. Those clean sheet points, of course, even more likely because he's playing for one of the top defences in the league. Then we've got set pieces, the occasional goal there, and there is no player, in my opinion, that I would rather have in my team for 7.5 million-ish. If Fantasy Premier League completely changed all of the rules, and the new rules where you're only allowed 1 player and you've got a budget of 8 million, for example, I could choose 1 player in my entire fantasy team, that's all I'm allowed, for 8 million or less. It's Trent. For me, every time. You know, 9 million or less, I would still choose Trent. Maybe even any player 10 million or less. Maybe, yeah, you could argue Son there, but that's not the right answer. So far, it's been proven that Trent is the best player in the entire game to have that is sort of, you know, under the 10 million mark, maybe Antonio will have something to say about that, but in terms of a season keeper, Trent is, for me, phenomenal. Keep Trent, no matter what you do. Next keep is Mason Greenwood. A few people asked me on stream yesterday about these mid-price midfielders at around 7 million, 8 million. My general opinion is that none of them are amazing, and you might actually be better served going for a slightly cheaper option instead. This is in terms of buying them, by the way. If you're buying midfielders, I would not feel it, even if your budget is 8 million to buy a new midfielder for your team, I would still go down to those 6.5 million midfielders, even, you know, if it means banking 2 million or something like that. I would still absolutely do that. But yes, my general opinion is that none of them are very good. You know, don't worry about buying them. But in terms of selling and keeping, Greenwood offers something that Jota and Torres don't, and that's the fact that he's actually pretty nailed on, at least until Rashford is back. Now, it doesn't look like Greenwood is going to be dropped for Premier League games full stop, and whilst you're on the pitch, and, you know, especially when you have that exceptional finishing ability that he has, goals are going to come your way. Maybe not all the time, maybe some of the focus has been taken away from Greenwood now that Ronaldo's at the club. I won't even lie to you, Greenwood's attacking numbers have dropped off a cliff since Ronaldo signed. But it's not a very big sample size. I think United still have a couple of okay fixtures in the immediate term, at home against Villa and Everton there. And whilst I agree that we should be monitoring Greenwood closely with an eye to remove him, he's kind of on the chopping block a little bit. I'm not sure that he's going to be a priority move out for any of you guys watching this video, or certainly not many of you guys watching this video. So I'm personally going to keep Greenwood and then wildcard him out. But for now, let's see what he can do in the next 2. Some avoids now, starting off with Lukaku. Now, this is not going to be a very popular one, but that's the fun of the avoids, right? They're never popular, are they? But I do want to make this incredibly clear. Now, Lukaku could easily score points this coming game week. It could very easily happen. He's 11.6 million though. You kind of hope that he can score even against the big teams at that kind of price, at that kind of money. The question is that you want to be asking yourself is, who scores more this game week? Lukaku or Ronaldo? Lukaku or Antonio? The answer there is very, very obvious to me, but you can actually go even further than this. So Lukaku against Man City or Bamford or Saint-Maximin or Dennis, because honestly, any of those players, I would say, could just very, very likely to outscore Lukaku this week because Chelsea play City. City being the best, statistically the best defence in the league by quite some margin, which is not too surprising. They were kind of the best defence in the league for most of last season too. So City have actually only conceded 1 goal, but their expected goals conceded is 2. Now that's the second best expected goals conceded this season is almost double that at 3.8. So that's Brentford, by the way. They've got an expected goals conceded so far this season of 3.8. Man City have got 2. So levels. Absolute levels there already. City have conceded by far the least amount of shots, dangerous chances, etc, etc. They're just head and shoulders above any other team in terms of defensive numbers. And you want to spend 11.6 million on a forward against that. You can't captain this player. You can't... Why? Well, there's no need to do that. So, yeah, basically what I'm saying, guys, is just be patient. Wait one more week. Whoever you have right now is probably just as good, especially if it's one of the forwards I mentioned already. Now, next week is when the Lukaku hype train can really leave the station, as he has this amazing run of fixtures. And honestly, I think he arguably becomes essential from kind of game week 9. But for a game against City, though, you can do without him. You can afford to wait. You know, some people talking about taking hits to get Lukaku in their team. No way. Can't do that. Save the transfer. Do it next week. You know, that's what I recommend doing. Just wait 1 more week. Our next avoid is Ivan Toney. Now, speaking of hype trains, it seems the Toney hype 2.0 is coming to town. A lot of people had him earlier on in the season and have sold him since then. Remember why you sold him, guys. One good game week does not suddenly make him a good FPL option, especially when you consider that the goal was a penalty too, which is not going to happen every single game. Now, Toney to me is still a sell. He's still an avoid, and I don't think you should be depending on newly promoted forwards when you look at this run of fixtures. Liverpool, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester there as well. That seems like absolute madness to me, all in a row. Crazy, especially when we have players like Antonio, Saint-Maximin tearing it up at the moment, similar price. Adam Armstrong, I like. Emmanuel Dennis is a super budget option as well. I'm really not sure where Toney fits in until, in terms of FPL. Yeah, I know where he fits in for Brentford. I don't know where he fits in terms of FPL until Brentford's fixtures improve again, and even then I feel like he still has a little bit to prove in the Premier League. I have no doubt that it could happen, and Brentford have made a positive start, but I think there's still a while to go before we start picking Toney as a kind of set and forget option no matter what the fixtures are, right? So for now he has to go down as an avoid. Don't get trapped by the big score, don't fall into that trap. Just be a little bit patient, stick with the players that you've got, or go for someone else. Now is probably not the time for Toney. So in summary, it's been a bit of a strange game week. It kind of broke the template in many ways, but remember not to knee-jerk too much. Cheaper midfielders seem to offer much better value than those mid-price guys like Jota, Torres at the moment. Lukaku, he can wait. Don't worry about getting him too much. You don't need him quite yet. Antonio, on the other hand, you do need Antonio right now. And if you don't have him, you absolutely must get him. And whilst you're at it, think about captaining him as well. Absolute cheat code. So there we have it, guys. That is the end of the video. Please do leave a like and, of course, subscribe if you are new as well. Come on, 90,000. We've got to do 90,000 subscribers this week. It's got to be done. But yes, guys. Hopefully you really did enjoy what you saw today. I really hope you did. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at FPL Mate if you fancy it. But yeah, plenty more videos to come this week. Hope you're going to enjoy all of them, everything that we got this week, and so we can start making some positive moves as we approach Game Week 6. But aside from that, guys, thanks once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.